for all of us, Val. More silence before Val eventually asked, "When you got shot in the back, do you remember how that made you feel, not being able to do everything you used to do?" I winced at the memory. I still hadn't recovered fully, psychologically or physically. In fact, my back was really acting up lately. I felt at that moment like I was lying on a concrete block. I pushed away the pain and tried to give better, more reasoned advice. "I remember playing poker with a rookie 1,000 years ago. You won a pretty decent pot with a queen high." Val raised an eyebrow. "So you're saying play the hand you're dealt. Play the hell out of it. A shitty hand doesn't mean you automatically lose. I'm supposed to run for sheriff on a bluff? I don't know what you're supposed to do, but as you said, at this moment, you get to make a choice. A choice you won't have in the future." "Thanks, Jack." Did I help? Not even a little bit. We both had a good laugh at that. "How are things with you, since all the craziness up north?" "Fine," I lied. "You're lying." "My back aches and I'm having some cognitive issues. I'm sure it'll pass. If you need a good neurologist, thanks, but I'm okay. It's mostly a memory thing." We stared at each other. "Tell me what's going on with you, Jack. Mostly your memory or more than that?" "I told you everything. I was drugged. In Lake Flathead. Before I was bricked up in that concrete tomb. The memories are all hazy and I think I lost touch with reality. That's completely understandable with all you went through." I nodded. "But I'm not sure that I'm over it. Sometimes it feels like it's still happening." I rubbed my back where I felt the brick pressing in. "Are you having difficulty determining what's real?" Val asked. I didn't reply because I was afraid of what I might say. "Lute, are you having trouble with reality right now?" I winced and said, "Yeah." "Do you know that this video chat is real?" "It feels real, but you're not okay, Jack," Val said. "I'm not okay." I agreed. "Give me your neurologist's number. I might be going a little crazy." Jack. I was definitely going crazy. My thoughts no longer felt like they were mine. Time no longer existed. Reality had fled with sanity, leaving my body to die. If I died, walled up in concrete blocks, what then? Would my body ever be found? People were almost certainly looking for me, Harry and Chandler. Assuming Chandler was still alive, or free. She might have been sealed in a concrete coffin like I was. Finn, he wouldn't quit until he found me. Others would come up to Lake Flathead and turn the whole town upside down to get to the bottom of what happened. My old partner, Herb Benedict, Val Riker, other friends I've made, both personal and professional, they would search. But would they find me? If I were mummified in a statue and left in the woods, would anyone figure it out? I pushed against the blocks above my head, pushed until my back felt ready to snap in half, pushed until I saw stars. I didn't mind seeing stars after so long in the dark. How long had I been there? My mouth had gone completely dry. I've never been thirstier. Hours? More than a day? Several days? I think I slept, at least for a little while. But my brain wasn't working right. Could have been the drug in that syringe. But I also read about studies done on prisoners in solitary confinement. Being locked up in darkness commonly led to peduncular hallucinosis. images so vivid they were indistinguishable from reality. In the absence of sensory input, your brain creates its own. Am I actually going to an escape room in a few weeks with my family? Or is that some mental metaphor for my current situation? Is it my brain trying to deal with this horrible reality? What is reality? What was it that Harry said in the bar? He said that our conversation couldn't happen in reality. What if that conversation never happened? What if I imagined it? I was supposed to have a video call with Val to talk about something important. Was that coming up, or did it already happen? I had memories of it happening, but I couldn't recall what was said. It was like trying to remember a dream. The more I focused on it, the more out of focus it became. So maybe it hadn't happened yet. Or maybe it would never happen. Or maybe none of this was happening. Harry talked, in real life or in my imagination, about dreams and cliches. It would be the ultimate cliche if this whole thing turned out to be a bad dream. That would be a really badly written story, like Harry had said, or like I imagined he had said, or dreamt he had said. It was so ridiculous I erupted with laughter. The laughter became sobbing. I kept pushing on the ceiling of my tomb. I kept sobbing/laughing until I no longer made any noise, but my body kept shaking like I was. Then the audible hallucinations began. It made a mad sort of sense. If I was seeing things, I should also be hearing things. This sounded like scratching or cracking. A rat? I had a few hysterical moments of adrenaline-spiked panic, thinking I was trapped in the dark with a rabid rodent, feeling its clammy pink feet crawl over my legs and belly, anticipating its sharp little teeth tearing into my bare skin. But that didn't happen. There was no rat. There was scratching, though, for sure, to my left. I put my hand on the concrete block and then pulled away because I felt it shift. A rescue! Or that crazy old man who buried me coming back to see if I was dead yet. Or my imagined rat, but not imagined and actually digging its way in, clawing through the concrete. Or crack. Something broke through, and I cried out and tried to move my legs away as I swatted at it. And it was hard and definitely not human, except it had fingers and made a mechanical whirring sound. In my head, where nothing was familiar anymore, this was something I could always recognize. Harry? He pulled his prosthetic hand away. Hiya, Jackie! Are you out there trying to rescue me? No, I'm walled in. I'm guessing you aren't here to rescue me? Nope, trying to break out. Looks like we're both idiots. Mutual idiocy aside, I was ridiculously relieved to see him. The relief was short-lived. Is that really you? I asked. It's me. If this McGlade was a figment of my imagination, I needed to hear something from him that I didn't know, something new to me, so I could be sure I wasn't making all of this up in my own brain. Prove it. Tell me a stupid joke. You know what I like about you, Jackie? What? See, you don't know either? Funny, but I might have heard that before, and my subconscious might be bringing it back, just to make me think I was no longer alone. Say something Harry McGlade would say, something new. You want a brand new McGladeism? Yeah. How about I stick my prehistoric Caucasaurus through this hole and you play Strangle the Dinosaur? It was Harry. I did not have anything close to Caucasaurus in my mental dictionary. Using his artificial hand, he'd broken through half of the concrete block. This type of block was hollow in the middle, with an inch of concrete support running down the center. We were each able to get a good grip on the edge and managed to wiggle the rest of it free of the mortar. I pulled it into my area and shoved it across the rock salt, down by my feet. Another block came out next, and it was easier than the first. After an unknown amount of time, we managed to break down most of the wall between us, and I knew I had to be certifiably out of my mind because I reached for McGlade and hugged him. I thought I was going crazy in here. When did they grab you? They? There's more than one? It was those 4 assholes at the bar, Harry said. Toddy drugged my toilet shot. They were all in on it. Someone else grabbed me, really old guy. Holy stinky shitballs, you met Granddad? He injected something into my neck. He was hiding in the attic. Dropped down like a bat. I knew it! Crazy hillbilly family of psychos hiding their insane relative in the attic. He's killed a crazy amount of people, wrapped them in concrete. They've been covering for him for over 50 years. Harry, are you wet? It's okay, you're in a sterile. I pushed him back. Hug is over. You didn't go pee-pee yet? I'm dehydrated. Did you make a boom boom? No. Then let's work from your area. I made a boom boom all over the opposite wall. He wormed his way into my space, and with the extra room, leverage, and his robot hand, we got the block out from under my head that had been giving me back pain the whole time. I got a weird contorted space in my cell too, with blocks that forced me to bend, Harry said. They're torturing us? I think Granddad wants us to die in certain positions before he turns us in a statue. You see, this is why we need to pay more attention to the elderly. They're a national treasure. Remember when that old guy hung us upside down in body bags and beat us with a bat? He beat you with a bat. Old people, so much wisdom to share. They warm my heart. I know I'm not thinking clearly, and you're never thinking clearly. It's a defense mechanism to protect myself from my own thoughts, Harry explained. That makes no sense, but nothing makes sense. These things keep happening to me, to us. Druggings, abductions, attempted murders. What's the probability these same situations keep occurring to the same people? You're making it all about you, Jack. Things happen. They happen to everybody, and everybody feels like it's unfair. Everyone whines about why it's happening to them, why they're so unlucky. But here's the thing. It wouldn't be a good story if nothing happened. So let's roll with it and count our blessings. First blessing, I'm no longer trapped alone with my boom boom. You're being unusually brave, McGlade. I pissed and shit myself and spent hours screaming and sobbing. I'm not brave. I'm just exhausted. The smell from McGlade's space finally wafted over, and I choked back some bile. Cheese curds went right through me, Harry said. It's horrible. So hold your breath. You're hogging all the oxygen anyway. Which way do you want to go? The opposite way, from the smell. Then, bad news. We gotta switch sides so I can get at that wall with my mechanical hand. I didn't like that idea, but just a little while ago I thought I was going to die alone, being eaten by rats. McGlade's boom boom was the lesser of those two evils, but it turned out not by much. As Harry carved his way through the concrete, I kept my robe up over my nose and mouth, and tried not to vomit. Can you stop making that gagging sound, Jack? It's making me gag. How's it going over there? Not good. I had a full battery charge this morning, but I don't think I have much power left. You don't know? Well, I wasted some of the battery earlier when I thought I was going to die. I had the hand on vibrate mode. I had no idea what he was talking about. And then I knew. So you were screaming and sobbing and jerking off? Don't knock it until you tried it. I found it oddly liberating. Jesus, Harry, so you have any bodily fluids left? I haven't puked yet, but I will if you keep making that gag noise. It's triggering me. Well, your boom boom is triggering my gag noise. He began to laugh. You really think this is funny? Unrelated, I was thinking about our vacation plans in a few weeks. What's funny about that? Well, we were planning on going to an escape room. This is a literal escape room. I found that ironic, but not laugh out loud funny. Then a memory came back from out of nowhere, which I did find funny. Remember when we found that DV perp hiding in the fridge a million years ago? Sort of. Do you remember what you said when we found him? I don't. What did I say? You said, "We got you cold." Harry laughed. I'm pretty damn clever. You have your moments, but what you said at the bar was freaking me out about us being in a story. I was beginning to doubt reality. What bar? That local bar with all the logging stuff on the walls. What was that place called? I can't remember the name of it. When? Harry asked me. When did this happen? Are you messing with me? Is who messing with you? Are you sure I'm even here? You're here. I can smell the proof. I'm telling you, Jackie, you have all the traits of an unreliable narrator. I knew that term. It was from fiction when the person telling the story wasn't telling the truth. A literary trick used to mislead the reader. Was that what was happening? Was I deluded, telling myself lies to prevent insanity? Or could I already be insane? I was so awestruck by the possibility that I couldn't even speak. Maybe I couldn't speak because I wasn't even there. Holy underwear, Jackie! He cackled. I was just messing with you! Damn it, Harry. You're such a dick, McGlade. Guilty, but I tell you what, pretending we're in a bad book is what we need right now. Why is that? Because, Harry said, pausing like he was ready to tell a dad joke. We need to break the fourth wall. The Witch. Interesting. The witch wondered if her memories were tainted, or just flat-out false. She'd remembered Jack Daniels, and even Harry McGlade, as worthy adversaries. Formidable, competent, challenging. But it seemed like a bunch of Northwoods hicks had captured them both without much difficulty. Have my enemies gone soft with age? Or is my mind gone? I'm partially right, my mind is partially gone. In fact, I'm the poster girl for losing your mind. Jack, drugged or knocked out, had been hauled out of the house, limp over the shoulder of the old wild man stalker who'd been spying on her earlier. He carried her into the woods, and the witch followed at a safe distance. The witch had seen this disappearing trick before. After the tavern, yokels brought McGlade to the property. They parked a mile away and hauled him in a wheelbarrow to a pole barn in the woods behind the house. Their secret entrance was clever, practically impossible to see unless you knew what to look for. And now, Jack's soldier girl buddy was skulking through the backyard, her Beretta PX4 Storm at the ready, heading for the statue that crazy guy had tractor-dumped into place after abducting Jack. The witch's admiration for the soldier girl had lapsed greatly since last night. Obviously, I overestimated her training. I assumed the crazy guy had killed her when he went into the house. But the fact that she was still alive meant she wasn't as competent as I expected. Had she slept through it all? Through shots fired and a tractor on the property? Had she been knocked out by the crazy guy? Has she allowed herself to be drugged, like Harry and Jack had? Pure amateur hour. The witch and the paladin would never have been so incompetent. I should end her right now. 200 meters, 5-kilometer-an-hour breeze coming from the northeast. The witch did some quick math, zeroed out her rifle scope, and put the reticle on the soldier's head. X marks the spot. I'm about to shoot your last thought right out of your skull, soldier girl. The witch breathed in deep, then exhaled, She put her finger on the trigger. She fought the vivid imagery of carnage flashing in her head. She fought the arousal building between her legs. She breathed in deep, then exhaled. Next exhale, the soldier girl is history. She breathed in deep, and the satellite phone on her nearby vehicle rang. The ring was silent, so it wouldn't be heard by anyone walking past, and the witch had it synced via Bluetooth to a haptic tap on her digital watch. Only 2 people had her number, and they both knew they shouldn't be calling her while she was in the field. The witch rested the butt of the rifle on the ground and dug into her backpack, camouflaged in Midwest ghillie the same as all of her gear, and squinted at the text. The wizard. Just making sure you are sticking to the plan. Surveillance only. No engaging targets unless there is a threat. She wondered, not for the first time, if the doctor was somehow surveilling her. A listening device or a remote camera. Or maybe, beyond his powers of science, he could actually do magic. Rather than get into some text war about how she was perfectly capable of cleaning up a murder scene because she'd done it dozens of times, the witch replied with a simple, "Got it." The soldier girl just got real lucky. And it's probably for the best anyway. I can't allow Jack and Harry to die by someone else's hand. If they can't save themselves, the soldier girl will have to rescue them. And if she doesn't... The witch smiled a crooked smile. How funny would it be if I had to save Jack and Harry, just so I could torture them to death later? That would be funny. And cold. And revenge was best when it was cold. During the heat of anger, things were in danger of ending too quickly. The witch didn't want a quick death for these 2 and their families. The wizard was a medical doctor, one with particular expertise in keeping people alive. If I have to, I'll save them from a merciful death, so I can be unmerciful. I'll drag it out so long, their deaths will take weeks. Sam. Mom? You okay? Samantha? Mom, I'm worried. Is there something wrong with you? There is, Sam. What's wrong? This is my story, not your story. What? I'm not dead yet. This isn't your story. Mom, you're dreaming. Wake up. It's my story, Sam. Wake up! Jack. Wake up! Someone was shaking Sam, but it wasn't Sam, it was actually me, because I was just dreaming I was Sam. And I opened my eyes and couldn't see anything, and a scream began to build up. And then from the recesses of the darkness, Harry said, "Easy, Jackie, you took a nap." I passed out. Don't say that in court. Always tell them you were taking a nap. The judge gets uppity. I coughed a dry cough, then rubbed my pounding temples. How long was I, napping? Only a few minutes, or maybe days. Time has no meaning anymore. But when it comes down to it, let's be clear that I'm eating you, not the other way around. I'd let you gnaw on my leg if you traded for a cold beer. Let's revisit that thought when we break out of here. Are you through the wall? I asked. Good news and bad news. What do you want to hear first? I hated the good news/bad news question. It was so overused. Is the bad news that you have to make another boom boom? I asked. No. Then give me the good news first. The good news is I'm almost through the wall. That was great, but obviously we weren't ready to celebrate. What's the bad news? I asked. My prosthetic battery finally died. I can't pinch through the concrete anymore. So, what do? We do what we always do. We figure it out. Jack. We needed to figure it out. The only clue that jumped out at me was the lyrics in the hymn book. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. 50 letters, Sam said, kneeling next to me. The lowercase z in amazing is the 4th letter, and lowercase e in sweet is the 19th letter. I stood up and walked to the rear of the fake church, to the entrance door, and reflexively checked it to make sure it was still locked. Then I took the whole room in, trying to get an overall perspective. Altar, organ, choir stands, stained glass windows on either side of the room on the walls, 2 sections of pews, 5 rows each, with a center aisle running through them. Harry and Harry Jr. were investigating the organ. Phin was at the altar. I studied the windows, 8 of them, lit from behind to imitate sunlight, each depicting a person. None were immediately recognizable to me, but I assumed they were saints or martyrs or maybe even people who created the escape room, because creators tended to like dumb inside jokes. The church seemed non-denominational, no overt iconography. Could have been a place of worship for any religious order. I turned my attention to the 2 sections of pews. 50 seats, Sam said. How can you tell? They're benches. There are 50 shelves under every seat for the hymn books, 5 per row. I smiled at her. Nice. 5 rows, 5 seats, 2 columns. And 50 letters in the song lyrics. The statue is kneeling in the first row, seat 4. And the lowercase z is the 4th letter. So we need to find the seat that matches the 19th letter, the 19th seat. That can be 2 different spots depending on how you count them. I nodded, getting it. Whether we count across both columns or start at one group, count to 25, then start over at the front row of the other group across the aisle. I'll try across the aisle. While Sam counted seats in both columns, I kept to the first section. Seat 19 was 4 rows back, 4 seats in. I knelt on the padded kneeler. Nothing happened. On the other side of the aisle, Sam found the 4th seat in the second row and knelt. And the organ music kicked on. Both Harry Sr. and Harry Jr. screeched in terror at the abrupt burst of piped-in sound. And as they held each other in fear like Shaggy and Scooby, the side panel of the organ opened up, revealing an ornate metal slit roughly 20 centimeters long and a pewter sign underneath with the etched word, Donations. Thankfully, Amazing Grace only played for 1 stanza, and the organ went silent again. Sam was the first one over there. It looks like a giant coin slot. Anyone got a giant coin? I left my giant coins in my giant pair of pants, McGlade said. You know, I once asked a homeless man if he wanted change, Phin said, then paused. But he told me he was happy with the way things were. Phin. I shot him a pleading glance. I didn't need this to start up again. Okay, then I won't do the joke about my pre-exercise routine, Phin said. Pause. Because it's a stretch. Too late, this is what I get for being a tolerant spouse. You know, I just went to the ear, nose, and throat doctor, McGlade said. He said I have Beatles disease. Pause. Penny Lane is in my ears, and in my eyes. There's a cure for that, Phin said. Pause. All you need is love. Mom, can you make them stop? Phin, I pleaded. I thought we already decided. I found something, Phin interrupted. If it's another dad joke, it's a lockbox under the altar. 8 dials on it, each numbered 1 through 9. My group went to check, but something about the number 8 reminded me of something. 8 stained glass windows. Maybe my memory wasn't as bad as I thought. I studied the first image, a regal-looking man in robes, and tried to find a number hidden somewhere. It was harder than I would have guessed. The colored pieces of stained glass had a lot of weird angles, so almost every intersection looked like a numeral. Sam bounced over. The flowers in the bush behind him, she said. 6 flowers. Are you sure that's the... Sam had already moved on to the second window. 8 stripes on the hem of his robe. How can you... I'm good at finding things. I followed her as she counted objects in the artworks in rapid succession. 4 clouds in the sky, 3 sheep behind her, 9 rays of light coming out of the sun, 8 tread lines on his sandals. Sam spotted things faster than I thought possible, and rather than second-guess my daughter, I went back to the first window and repeated the numbers she said to Finn. At the final stained glasswork, Sam's face bunched up. "Can't figure that one out?" I called to her. "I don't see anything." "He has 2 hands," I suggested. "His hands aren't the same. Every number depicted the exact same object repeated, like they took a cookie cutter of glass and used it over and over. It has to be exactly the same size, same color." She smiled suddenly. "You found it?" "I didn't find anything, Dad," she yelled to him. "The last number is 0. I glanced at Finn, and he declared it worked. He held up the payoff, a large metal coin. "How did you know?" I asked Sam. "There was nothing, Mom. Nothing means 0. "Fair enough." Harry Jr. insisted on being the one who dropped the coin into the slot. When he did, "The door," Finn pointed. "Behind you." I turned, and the door we'd entered through was now wide open. I went through first, expecting to be back in the fake medical examination room. But somehow, the room had changed again, from lobby to exam room to church, and now to something else, all using one door only. How'd they do that? The new room was dark, and off to the side was a floor-to-ceiling wall of plexiglass, and behind the barrier, a cast-iron bathtub. I paused, remembering the tub at the Lake Flathead B&B, the small one that required me to curl up and bend my legs. The same pose that Maniac put me in when he sealed me in that concrete tomb. The one I couldn't remember escaping from. This tub looked the same. But all cast-iron bathtubs looked the same, didn't they? When the rest of my group came into the room, the door closed behind them. Suddenly, a woman burst out of the bathtub, screaming, and we collectively gasped. She stood up, wearing a bikini, sending water and ice cubes onto the floor. Then she looked at her bare side and gently touched a large red gash, stitched closed with black thread. Noticing us for the first time, she said, They took it. They took my kidney." "Dad?" Harry Jr. said. "Is this real?" It looked pretty damn real to me. The woman climbed out of the tub and came up to the glass. She banged on it. You had to get out of here," she yelled, face frantic. "This isn't an escape room. It's real. They want your organs. They want to steal your organs." Then she turned around like she saw something and ran off into the darkness. And out of the same darkness, the smiling man in the lab coat appeared. The same one who took our signed waivers and consent forms. He met Sam's eyes, his smile getting wider. Type O, universal donor, and so young. With organs that are so fresh, you're going to make us a lot of money, young lady. "Mom?" Sam said, her voice unsteady. Then, the lights went off. Jack. Darkness. The comforting whir of McGlade's mechanical hand had ceased, replaced by his grunts and the tap, tap, tap of him poking his metal prosthesis at the concrete. I was drained. Physically, emotionally, mentally. Especially mentally. I was completely out of touch with reality. Taking that concept a step further, I wasn't even sure reality existed. For all I knew, I could have been born in this darkness, and my entire life had been my imagination. So, what are you going to do about it, Jack? Give up? Whine like a petulant child? Die? Maybe nothing was real, but if nothing was real, did I have anything to lose? I thought of my daughter, my husband, my parents, my friends. I thought of my life. Real or not, I wasn't ready to give up on it. Doesn't it hurt? I asked Harry in the dark. Hell yeah, it hurts. Goddamn myoelectric sensors are attached to the muscles on my stump. Titanium joints and gears are super unforgiving. It's like whacking myself with a hammer. Use something else, I told him. Try fucking your way out with your giant cockosaurus. Silence. Then I felt McGlade's whole body shake with convulsive laughter. I joined him. It hurt with my throat so dry, but for a moment I had my sanity back. Or maybe my sanity had lapsed into full-blown hysteria. Either way, it felt good. And then, I'm through! Harry had apparently used our peals of laughter to overcome the pain and punch through the cement. And I shared in his excitement until I noticed his shouts of joy became a staccato cry of panic. I touched something with my good hand, McGlade said, shimmying through the rock salt and backing up against my body. There's somebody there. Chandler. The kneeling concrete statue appeared fresh, and Chandler approached cautiously, staying alert, not allowing herself to be controlled by fear or dread. Beretta tight in a two-handed grip, she swept the property. Once she deemed it free of hostiles, Chandler sidled up to the statue and gave it a poke. Still damp. The expression on its round face, its mouth a plaintive white O of river quartz pebbles, bulging green-blue eyes made of glass, was that of an existential pain. Chandler recognized the glass, old-time telephone insulators, and remembered there was a display at the Fall Down Inn, and also on a shelf in the entryway of the B&B. Not wanting to, but feeling she had to, Chandler holstered her weapon and quickly began to scratch and tear at the statue's wrist, hoping her hunch was wrong, knowing her hunch was correct. And she unwrapped sticky cement-soaked cloth strips, half-cured concrete flaking away as she peeled and unwound and pulled and scraped, taking the width down until she finally saw desiccated flesh, tight on the bones. This is a human body, but it's been dead for months. It's not Jack. Chandler temporarily became overwhelmed with relief, unaware she'd grown fond of the older ex-cop. Maybe we really are friends after all. I'll find you, Jack. I think I know where you are. Gun at the ready, Chandler followed the fresh tractor tire tracks into the woods, toward the pole barn. Jack has to be in there. There has to be another entrance. I'll find it. I'll find her. The pole barn appeared much bigger in the daytime, the woods not nearly as thick. Chandler did a quick tour around the building, but the only entry point seemed to be the garage. Second time's a charm. Once again, she picked the lock. Once again, she faced a solid wall of concrete blocks. But in the daylight, she could clearly see the tire tracks, going right up to the wall, then disappearing beneath it like a magic trick, as if the tractor drove right through it. She squatted and saw the chips and wear marks on the bottom row of mortared wall. He uses the tractor to lift and move the wall. The concrete man with the long beard and the dead eyes. That hadn't been a psychedelic experience. That asshole was for real. Chandler stepped away from the wall, puzzling over the situation. Does that mean he only comes in and out of the pole barn using the tractor? Or is there another entry and egress point I must be missing? Maybe some kind of secret entrance. She began to circle the structure again, this time widening the perimeter by 5 meters, looking for something meant to be hidden from the casual eye. Halfway around the building, she heard the sound of a vehicle. 8-cylinder engine, big block, coming up the gravel driveway. Chandler sprinted back to the house, got to the west wall, and squatted. Moving in a crouch, she made her way to the front yard, watching as a tow truck backed up to her rental SUV. Driving the truck, Mick, from the Fall Down Inn. Standing next to the truck, Toddy, Vern, and Zeke, from the Fall Down Inn. Toddy had a shotgun. Vern and Zeke had rifles. The weapons weren't slung, they were in hand. These aren't good old boys after all. They're bad old boys. Chandler was an excellent marksperson, and all it took was a single well-placed 9mm round to drop a human being. But firing from more than 50 meters away with her subcompact Beretta and its short 4-inch barrel would result in some wasted shots. I have 13 +1 bullets in the weapon, and an extra 13-round magazine in the side pouch of my holster. I'm outnumbered and outgunned. It will take me 5 seconds to get in kill range and 4 more seconds for aiming and firing. If they're competent hunters, and they see me coming, they could raise weapons and start shooting within 3 seconds. Not the worst odds I ever faced, but far from the best. Chandler considered hiding, waiting for a better moment to strike. Then she considered the statue in the backyard, and her friend, Jack, who was likely going to face the same fate, turned into grotesque outside art by the concrete man. This is the simplest decision I ever had to make. For Jack. Chandler filled her lungs with oxygen, then charged full speed. Jack. Harry's fear was contagious, and I worried it was the Mountain Man maniac who'd locked us up, or one of his insane codependent enabling family members who heard us trying to escape. Then, Harry said, "Wait, Tradorn Blowder?" After a few seconds of silence, a soft, frail voice replied, "Yeah?" McGlade whooped. "I did it! I found him! I am the greatest private eye in the annals of history. Or annals. Let's call it annals. What do you think, Jackie?" "I think you need to stop yelling like an idiot." "Fair point. Jack, help me pull this block free. Tradorn, push on your side." We yanked. Tradorn shoved. The wall opened up even faster than it had between me and Harry. "Mia," Tradorn moaned. "Save Mia." "I need to climb over you, Tradorn, to get to the wall," Harry said. "If you feel anything weird, don't take it personally. I'm just excited that I saved your life." McGlade shifted around and began to scratch at the wall. I winced, not only because Tradorn smelled awful, but because I had an awful thought. How many walls did we need to get through to get out of here? Were we going the wrong way? Could Mia be on the other side of this multi-celled concrete structure? I have to save her. We're getting married. I reached out in the blackness and rubbed his shoulder. "We'll save her," I promised. "Hang in there." "Damn right you hang in there," said Harry. "Your parents are gonna owe me a metric shit ton of money." Jack. Sam held my hand in the darkness. "Mom, that lady was acting, right?" "I think so." Truth told, I wasn't entirely sure. Finn located us after the lights went out, and he had his arms around us both. "Totally fake," he assured his family. "We put a big coin in that coin slot on the organ," Sam said. "Do you understand what that means?" "Organ donation," McGlade said. "Son of a bitch. Clever. Why didn't you think of that, Harry Jr.? "I think I made a boom boom in my pants," Harry Jr. said. "All McGlades shit their shorts," said his father. "No need to be ashamed. In fact," he paused, Diarrhea runs in the family. Get it? The runs? That joke was crap, Phin told Harry. Don't you guys get started again, I warned them both. It could be a developmental problem, Harry Jr., Sam offered, or a medical condition called encopresis. There's a third option, McGlade said. It could be intentional because it's funny as hell. There was a silence for a few seconds. Then Harry Jr. said, I just checked with my hand. It was only a wet fart. You can try again later, his father told him. Is something supposed to happen now? Sam asked. Or are we supposed to wander around in the dark? As if cued, the door we came through opened by itself, letting in some light. We filed through the doorway, and I immediately noticed it was no longer a church. How the heck did they keep changing rooms like that? Merry-go-round horsies! Harry Jr. correctly declared. In the carnival-themed room, I counted 7 full-size carousel horses, each on its own flat wooden base with rollers on the bottoms. They were various different colors with various patterns and designs painted on them. Elsewhere in the room were 7 horse stalls, large television monitors on all 4 walls, and an enormous cylindrical metal tank with a big skull and crossbones poison symbol painted on the side. The horsies have spikes on their saddles, Harry Jr. said, running his hand over it. That's so no one tries to ride them, Sam told him. I still want to ride them. Dad, boost me up. I'm not paying for another colorectal surgery, McGlade said, offering no further explanation. What are we supposed to do here? Push them back into their pens? Everyone agreed that seemed like the obvious move. Though detailed, the horses were made of hard plastic rather than carved from wood and lighter than they looked. We spent a few minutes getting all the horses in a row. When each was shoved into a stall, their tails clicked into a compartment, which was a hint that we were on the right track and something was going to happen when we finished the task. Phin pushed the last horse into place. And nothing happened. Well, that's horse shit, McGlade said. The kids laughed. Maybe the order is wrong, I suggested. I pulled the horse nearest to me out of its stall and began to examine it closer. Over the base color of red, there were small, abstract squiggles and symbols, each a few centimeters tall, dozens of them, all over the surface of the animal. Sam, scrutinizing a blue carousel horse, announced, This orange horse has the letter B on it, on its mane. It's bigger than all the other designs. I checked my horse's mane and found no letters. Got the letter M over here, Phin said. Blue horse, letter on the right front leg. On this green one I found an upside-down V with a line going through it, said Harry Jr. You mean an A? Sam asked him. I found an A, said Harry Jr. I finally found an R on mine on the underside of its chin, and announced it to my fellow escapees. On this yellow horse I found its dick, McGlade said. This thing is hung like a horse. The kids laughed again. Sam went to him and said, There's an N here, Uncle Harry, by the tail. I found an N, McGlade said, by the tail. Sam found the letter I on a light purple horse, and when we all searched the last equine, Phin found an O. Sam said, The letters are A, B, I, M, N, O, and R. She made a face. No words can be made out of that. Abomnor, Harry said. Try that word. That's not a word, Uncle Harry. Sure it is. As in Abomnor, brother of Tradorn, of the barbarian Viking planet. Tradorn? Harry scratched the stubble on his face. Tradorn was that missing persons case from Lake Flathead. Hey, Jackie, did we ever save that kid and his fiancée? Did we? Did someone? I couldn't remember. Jack. I can't remember, McGlade said, when I've been this tired. Probably never, or maybe that time I worked for Michelin. Now that job was tiring. I'm not a huge fan of dad jokes, Harry, especially right now. Have you heard that one before? No. Good, I was worried it was a retread. I heard Traydorn moan and wasn't sure if it was from the hell he'd gone through or McGlade's terrible puns. I really am out of steam. Jackie, can you take over the digging? I don't have a prosthetic limb, I reminded him. Something hard dropped onto my chest and I yelped. It was Harry's detached prosthetic limb. Don't say I never gave you a hand, he said. How long have you been waiting to use that joke? 15 years. Now climb over me. I did. McGlade was still damp in a bad place, and oddly, warmer. I peed myself again, Harry said. It's okay, I reassured him. You couldn't help it. Oh, I could have helped it. I did it because my crotch was cold, from the previous peeing. Traydorn, so dehydrated that he was nearly dead, made a soft sound, like a chuckle. Guys and their potty humor. McGlade's hand had locked into an open palm position, and I used it like a garden spade, repeatedly striking at the hole he'd already made. Time passed, or maybe it didn't. I went to a place in my head beyond meditation. All that existed was me, the dark, and the wall. All I wanted was to get through the wall and get out of the dark. The progress was so slow, it didn't feel like progress. But I was going to bust that concrete, even if it was the last thing I... Harry shook my shoulder. Jackie, I have an important question. What is it? Well, I can't see you, but I'm listening to you grunting, so I have to ask. Here it comes. How many of my fingers have you got in your hole? Harry said. I got the whole hand in here, McGlade. I got the whole damn... And then I was through the block. And a weak female voice said, Trey? Mia! Croaked Trey. Hiya, Mia, Harry said. Welcome to the party. Jack. Dad, it's not an M. Sam was examining the blue merry-go-round horse. You had it upside down. It's a W. So the letters are A, B, I, N, O, R, and W. Winorba, McGlade said. That's not a word, Uncle Harry. Winarbo, not a word. Ramboner. That's the wrong letters, Sam said. And it's not a word. Harry leaned over and whispered to me, It is a word. I used to own that on VHS. Same director who did Sperminator 2 Spoogement Day. Why are you telling me this? I whispered back. Because if I think of a joke and I don't say it out loud, they build up inside me and I might explode. For the sake of humanity, I told him, explode. It spells rainbow, Sam declared. So he pulled out all of the wheeled horses and rearranged them in the proper order. And nothing happened. We made sure all of their tails were in their proper sockets, but not a single thing in the room changed. And the self-opening and closing door didn't open. Maybe the puzzle is broken? Finn asked. The giant flat-screen monitors on all four walls blinked to life. And the smiling guy in the lab coat stared down at us. It isn't broken, he said from multiple televisions. And in exactly 5 minutes, I'm going to release the gas. Then I'm going to harvest your organs. It doesn't matter that you refused to sign the consent form. I'm going to find out your blood type, all on my own. He began to laugh. Then one of the screens became a countdown timer, beginning at 5 minutes. The other 3 screens, operating room footage of organ replacement surgeries, real surgeries, in graphic detail. I already had a heart transplant, McGlade said. I want to hold on to it for at least a few more years. Dad, this is fake, right? Harry Jr. asked. The smiling guy came back on all 4 screens. No, it isn't fake. You have 4 minutes and 49 seconds to escape. 48. 47. The images flipped back to the medical procedures and the timer. I looked at Sam, wondering if she was enjoying this. Her expression told me she was just as freaked out as I was. Jack. I'm freaking out, I said. Being confined alone in one concrete tomb was awful, but somehow being imprisoned with 3 other people made it even more claustrophobic. Do you want me to take over digging? It depends. Did you piss yourself again? Maybe. I continued to chip away at the wall, the literal 4th wall. One of McGlade's metal fingers bent backward. I kept chipping. Another finger bent. I kept chipping. I was doing it for my family. I was doing it for Trey and Mia, who clung to life while they also clung to each other. I was doing it for Harry. Well, maybe not for Harry, but I was doing it for me. Whether any of this was real or fake or whatever it might be, I wasn't going to let it continue for one more goddamn... The hand broke through, and a stream of light came in. It was a tiny trickle, but so bright it blinded me. Every color of the spectrum, a complete and glorious rainbow of pure energy. Red and orange and yellow and green and blue and indigo and violet, all blending together into a heavenly luminescence. So bright it hurt my ears. Wait, why did it hurt my ears? Light doesn't make a noise. What I heard was something different. What I heard was the distinctive sound of gunshots. Chandler. 40 meters away from the men, Zeke turned and saw Chandler sprinting. He yelled to the others, and at 30 meters away, he lifted his rifle. At 25 meters away, Chandler dropped to one knee and brought up her Beretta, as Vern and Toddy raised their weapons. Zeke got off 1 shot. Chandler got off 3. Zeke missed. Chandler did not miss. 3 men slumped to the ground, leaking brains. Chandler got up and continued her sprint, slowing down enough to shoot each fallen man 3 more times in their skulls, quickly replacing her magazine, and then coming in on the passenger side of the tow truck as Mick got out of the driver's side. Chandler shot him in the shoulder through the cab. Then she scrambled up and in over the seats and launched herself at the man as he fell down, pinning his shoulders to the dirt, sticking the hot barrel of her subcompact behind his ear. "Entrance to the pole barn," she said. "Tell me." "I ain't telling you shit." It took 47 seconds for Chandler to prove him wrong. Jack. The escape room of terror was living up to its name, and as the timer counted down past 3 minutes and no one knew what to do, I kept eyeing the fake giant metal container of poisonous gas, and I kept thinking that maybe it wasn't fake after all. The transplant surgery videos were graphic and huge and overwhelming, and I wondered how feasible it was that a black market organ harvesting operation could actually exist in a strip mall in Thousand Oaks, California. I stared at the carousel horses, and then felt Sam's tiny hand grip mine. Tight. "It has to be Rainbow," she said. "There are no other clues anywhere." But Rainbow wasn't the answer. If it wasn't the answer, what was it? And that's when everything came together in my head. I knew everything, and I understood it all. I opened my mouth to make the announcement, but right before any sound got out of my mouth, I stopped myself and stared down at my daughter. Then I crouched so we could look at each other eye to eye. Samantha Adams Troutt Daniels, I said. You're the smartest one in this room. If rainbow isn't the answer, why would they put those letters on the horses? Her little nose crinkled up. It's not the answer, so it must be a clue. Sam closed her eyes, her face as serene as when she was asleep. Finn came over. You guys okay? He crouched down next to us. I put my finger to my lips to shush him. Come on, Sam. Figure it out. You can figure this out. You can. Her eyes popped open, and she said, It's the colors. What colors, Pumpkin? Her father asked. The horses, Dad, they're all the colors of the rainbow. I learned them when I was a kid. Red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, and violet. It's an acronym. Roy G. Biv. It's Roy G. Biv, everyone! We rearranged the horses in their pens, lining them up according to the spelling of Roy G. Biv, while I beamed with pride that my brilliant daughter solved. Nope, McGlade announced. That didn't do shit. I checked the ticking clock on the monitor. 56 seconds left. Uncle Harry, you got indigo and violet backwards, Sam said. Indigo is the dark purple horse, violet is light purple. Harry and Harry Jr. quickly pulled both carousel horses out of their pens, and then played horse bumper cars, banging their heads together like stags during running season. Giddy up! Harry Jr. yelled. Quit horsing around, McGlade countered. 36 seconds on the clock. Rein in the horseplay, Finn said. It's my son, said McGlade. He's trying to stir up trouble. Boys will be boys, but I still wasn't sure if this escape room was make-believe or actually a plot to steal our organs. With 10 seconds left, they finally sorted out their horses and returned them to their pens in the proper order. I spun to watch the door we'd entered and exited through so many times, knowing for sure it would open automatically. But it didn't open automatically. Instead, the giant metal cylinder with a skull and bones poison symbol on it emitted a low, rumbling noise and began to shake, falling onto its side and revealing a small, dark opening, only high enough to crawl through. Crawling. As a group, we hurried to it, and Sam gave me a nudge. Go on, Mom, you're the bravest. I shook my head. You're the bravest, baby. This is your adventure. Go for it. Sam hesitated. She looked at her father, who nodded, looked at me again, gave me a thumbs up, and then darted into the hole. Go protect her, I told Finn. On it. He ducked in after her. Then I squatted down, ready to crawl forward into the darkness. And I became paralyzed. I thought I'd figured it all out. I had figured it all out. But the fear was still there, holding me back. Jack. What are you waiting for, Jackie? Harry said. For some reason, I couldn't go through the hole that we just cleared of blocks enough to squeeze through. He gave me a shove, but I pushed back. There were gunshots. And in here, we're an easy defenseless target. We need to get out. Move it. But I couldn't move. Jack. 20 seconds left on the clock, Jackie, Harry said. What are you waiting for? But I couldn't move. The artist.
The artist knows something is wrong. He hears gunshots. He hears screaming. Screaming is normal from inside the barn, but this is coming from outside the barn. The artist leaves the secret art room The artist listens. The artist listens harder. The artist hears one more gunshot. The artist walks between the stacked blocks and the side of the barn to the tractor that holds the wall. On the back of the tractor is the chainsaw. The artist picks it up. The artist listens. The artist hears something. The artist hears something horrible. The art to be has gotten out.
Jack. I knew what was wrong. I'd been locked up in the dark so long, I was afraid to leave it. Because then I'd find out the truth, whatever the truth might be. Dying, dead, hallucinating, tripping, imagining, remembering, fantasizing. The answer was through that hole in the blocks. Going through wouldn't just free my body. It would free my mind and my soul. I was afraid, and I hesitated. But it was only a hesitation. I didn't know the answer, but Chandler was mostly right when she went on that rant in the bar. Nobody knows anything, but I had the courage to face anything. So, I crawled through the blocks, off of the rock salt onto a cold concrete slab. Ahead of me, a wall of aluminum. We'd gotten into the pole barn, that was a plus. I didn't know if there was any way out of the pole barn. The garage door was walled off with concrete blocks. That was a minus. And the wild old man who'd imprisoned me here was likely nearby. That was an even bigger minus. I helped Harry out and gave him the finger over the lip sign for staying quiet, returned his fake hand, cinched the belt on my tattered bathrobe, and then we helped Mia and Traydorn out. And the four of us walked between the metal wall and the concrete block wall, slowly and carefully and quietly. The concrete block structure was massive, as tall as the 4-meter-high ceiling, and it seemed to fill the entire barn. The cement structure built inside of a metal structure, with a narrow perimeter to walk around. But I knew there had to be more. Were there other victims trapped inside these walls, clinging to life? We had to check, but we were in no shape to. We needed to get out, get help. I assumed there was an exit. I assumed we'd be able to find it. I assumed the gunshots had something to do with Chandler. And knowing Chandler, I assumed she was the shooter and not the shootee. I assumed if the old man heard us escaping, he would have confronted us by now. But I also assumed he had more rooms in the pole barn, specifically a room where he made his statues. I assumed he could be in there with us at that very moment. Lots of assumptions. We came up to the first corner of the barn. I put my back to the wall and peered around the corner and saw stairs. There were concrete stairs descending into somewhere. A basement? A tunnel? A hallway into the main house? Only one way to find out. I beckoned my companions to follow and began to go down. Jack. The fear faded as quickly as it began, and I crawled through the dark hole, following my daughter and husband, rounding a corner and coming into the light, and the lobby we started in. Finn and Sam stood there, clutching small red bags and talking to the smiling guy in the lab coat who had, minutes earlier, threatened to harvest all of our organs. "Congratulations on conquering the escape room of terror, an extreme escape room experience," he said to me. "Here is a certificate with your official escape time. and a gift bag of Freelock's moisturizing shampoo and conditioner, now with dandruff control. And to think, for a few moments there, I'd actually been afraid. Funny how the mind works. I thought it was really fun, Sam said, beaming at me. Did you like it, Mom? I found it therapeutic. Somehow, this hyper-violent theme escape room attraction in a suburban strip mall had helped me regain my memory. I was whole again. I remembered all of Lake Flathead, and more. I may have been hallucinating because I'd been drugged, but I had everything back. Everything. Phin cozied up to me, held my free hand while our other hands clutched our shampoo bags. You seem exhilarated. Memory returned, I said. That's great. How much do you recall? 647, I told him. He raised an eyebrow. That number you told me to remember 3 weeks ago in our kitchen. No shit? No shit. Hiya, Jackie! I looked over and saw Harry and Harry Jr. coming through the door we'd originally entered the escape room through. I didn't want to crawl through the tunnel with my new prosthetic, Harry said, waving his hand. So we took the handicap door. There was a door for the disabled? Sam asked. It's California. There's always accommodations for cripples like me. Smiling Guy stepped up. Congratulations on conquering the— Hold the speech there, Marlon Brando, Harry interrupted. This was supposed to be an escape room full of puzzles. I counted, seriously, 4 puzzles. That's all the puzzles we get for $40 a pop? The Escape Room of Terror is an extreme escape room experience. Here's your participation certificate stating you survived, and a free bottle of Freelock's moisturizing shampoo and conditioner, now with dandruff control. How about you keep the It shampoo and refund me $20 for lack of puzzles? Sorry, said the smiling guy. It's the fine print of that waiver you signed. It explicitly said no refunds. I thought it was awesome, said Harry Jr. And you, my man, are fire. The smiling guy seemed to smile even wider. Thank you. Why do I feel like an insult is coming? No insult, truth. I totally bought your performance, and you really scared me. I think you're going to be big someday. Can you sign your autograph on my certificate? Of course. The smiling guy spent a moment signing it. Thanks, said Harry Jr. And don't forget to eat that bag of dicks. The smiling guy lost his smile, then walked off to meet the next group of patrons. I'm so selling this on eBay when he gets famous, Harry Jr. said. We headed out of the lobby, and when we got into the parking lot, Phin said, One thing I'm still confused by is how the rooms kept changing even though we used the same door each time. Easy, Dad. The main room was on a gimbal. What's a gimbal? Asked Harry Jr. The exam room was on one side, the bathtub room was on the other side of a center room, and they were on a big rotating circle on the floor. The platform was so big and so slow we couldn't feel it when it moved. The small room was in the middle of a bigger circle around it, divided into 3 rooms: the lobby, the church, and the merry-go-round horses. Every time we went into the door, the gimbal moved and let us out at a different part of the circle. So it seemed like the room kept changing, but we were really changing rooms. My daughter the genius. I tousled her hair. Now that we've survived the Escape Room of Terror and extreme escape room experience, who wants to grab pizza? Everyone wanted that. And maybe we can have dinner without any more dad jokes, I suggested, hopeful. How does that sound? Sam stopped walking and looked at me, her face super serious. No way, Mom. Dad jokes are my favorite thing ever. I stared at her, unsure if she was putting me on. You're exaggerating, Phin said. I never exaggerate to prove my point, Sam said. Then she paused and looked pointedly at her father. I've told you that 1,000,000 times. Phin's eyes got super wide. Holy shitballs, you told a dad joke! It ran in the family. I laughed. I was good with that. I was good with everything. Sam likes dad jokes, McGlade whined, staring at his son. Why don't you like dad jokes? I love dad jokes, Dad. Why didn't you ever tell me? I don't tell you everything, Harry Jr. said. Like I never told you about the time I didn't buy that marionette at the toy store. He paused. There were strings attached. Harry exploded with pure joy, then yelled, I'm the proudest father in the world! Finn whispered to Sam, second proudest. We continued to the Crimabago, everyone feeling pretty damn skippy. And before McGlade got in, I caught his elbow. Harry, I remember how Lake Flathead ended. Seriously? Seriously, it all came back to me. Just like all those boomerangs I try to throw away. Sam likes dad jokes, I said. I tolerate them. Okay, spill. What happened? Did I save the day? Well... Harry. I watched Mia and Trey follow Jack down the concrete stairs, and then heard the one sound you never wanted to hear in a redneck setting. Someone starting a chainsaw. I spun in time to see some bearded backwoods redneck insane inbred hillbilly homicidal freakazoid mother humper swing a freaking chainsaw at my freaking head. I managed to block with my prosthetic, and sparks lit up the barn. And miraculously, I wet my pants again, which was a miracle because I was sure I was all out of pee. And then his chain snagged on my titanium pulleys and the saw froze and immediately stalled. He dropped the chainsaw to the floor, taking my hand with it, and the lunatic reached into his overalls and yanked out the mother of all hunting knives. And I was all out of moves. I was exhausted, dehydrated, still groggy from the toilet margarita. Damp and filthy, had no weapons and no combat skills. My hand-to-hand combat was one hand short. Farewell, life. It was fun. And kind of surprising because I was almost positive I would save the day. Then the crazy man's head snapped back like he was hit with a 2x4, and the knife went flying, and he smashed into the concrete wall he'd built and left an 8x10 portrait of his own face in his own blood on the blocks, and he collapsed to the floor. And I turned and saw Jackie in one of her taekwondo poses just as she slowly lowered her foot to the ground. Nice kick, I said, playing it cool. Jack played it even cooler. I told you I was the protagonist, she said. Touché. I followed her down the stairs and into a dimly lit tunnel appropriately lined with cement blocks. Did this family own stock in a cement factory? And just when we thought we'd made it out alive, we ran into the absolute deadliest person on the planet. Jack! Chandler! The women embraced, leaving me feeling alone and third-wheelish and awkward. But it was okay. With a trippy feeling in my head, I was sure I wouldn't remember any of this. Chandler. When Chandler saw the couple in the tunnel, looking like they'd lived through a war, all she could think about was Jack. Then, she saw Jack, and the relief was extraordinary. You came for us, Jack said, hugging her tight. That's what friends do, Chandler said. And she meant it. How about that? I've actually got a friend. Are you okay? Chandler asked. It's not as bad as a paper cut, Jack answered. Nice callback, Jack. There might be more people in there, Harry said. So McGlade was also abducted, and he survived. I'm not his biggest fan, but I'm happy he made it. Hostiles? Chandler asked. Just one guy whose head Jack practically knocked off. She probably killed him. I bet she killed him. The couple you brought out, they're in bad shape, Chandler said. They need water, and you all need medical care. I'll clean up whatever's in the pole barn. Chandler tried to pass, but Jack caught her sleeve. "We'll call the authorities. They'll send a team." "I can do this, Jack. It's what I'm trained for." "Not alone." "I'm always alone, Jack." Jack shook her head and said, "No, you're not alone." Chandler wasn't sure what to feel. She opened her mouth to say something, and when nothing came out, she just nodded and led the group out of the tunnel, up the stairs, to the hidden doorway that only took a few broken fingers before Mick spilled its location. Then, Mick made the stupidest decision in a life full of stupid decisions, and went for a gun in his pocket, forcing Chandler to blow his last thought right out of his skull. Pushing the door open, Chandler climbed out to ground level and ushered them through the forest, away from the bodies of Zeke, Vern, Toddy, and Mick, around to the other side of the house to get everyone inside for hydration, first aid, and to call the authorities. While they're doing that, I can load up the bodies in a Mick's pickup truck and ditch it in the nearest lake. Forecast called for rain, which would clean up all the blood sprays better than I could without proper chemicals. Then I could go back to the pole barn and search for survivors. Jack said I didn't have to do it alone, and I appreciated her words. But this is who I am. I'm a scalpel, and I'm at peace with that. As they rounded the corner of the house, a gunshot pierced the air to Chandler's left. High caliber, suppressed. Subsonic round, so no crack of the sound barrier breaking. Sniper. Chandler dashed forward, knocking over Jack, Harry, and the new couple, then heard groaning behind her and saw him, the concrete man, bleeding heavily from his face and from a GSW that blew off the top of his shoulder, still holding a wicked-looking hunting knife in his other hand. As Chandler drew her Beretta, another rifle shot caught him in the top of the skull, making a little poof of blood mist, and his head jerked back, and he fell. "Stay down," Chandler ordered everyone. Then she sprinted into the woods, toward the unknown shooter. The Witch. The witch watched as Jack and Harry came out of the secret entrance with the soldier girl. They apparently were able to save themselves, and 2 others as well. Like rats. Hard to kill. Then the old crazy guy with a beard came out of the woods, sneaking up on Jack with a big knife. Moving so quietly, not even soldier girl heard him. And the witch had to save Jack's life, so she'd be able to kill her later. So she fired, but hadn't adjusted for the wind change, and the 200-meter shot was off by a little bit, hitting the wild man in the shoulder, but not bringing him to the ground. The witch fired again, this time scoring with a headshot, and then she looked around and saw Soldier Girl was missing. Rifle scopes were good for focusing in long range on a set target, but not good for sweeping an area. So the witch reached for her pack and fished out some field binoculars, and by the time she caught sight of Soldier Girl, she'd closed the distance within 60 meters and was closing fast. Damn it. I knew I should have killed her when I had the opportunity. The witch could shoot, and she could brawl, and even though she'd seen Soldier Girl impressively take down 4 men in less than 8 seconds, she didn't believe she would be beaten in a fair fight. But very few fights are fair. The best possible outcome for a risky confrontation was to avoid the confrontation if possible. The witch made a quick decision, then stood up and raised her hands. "I'm on your side," she called into the woods. "That man was trying to kill you." Soldier Girl appeared out of nowhere, gun drawn, business end pointing at the witch's head. She likes the headshot. How endearing. "You saw it. The crazy guy behind you had a knife." The witch put some drama into it, forcing her body and face to act accordingly. "I've never been so scared." "Why are you out here?" "Hunting." Hunting season hasn't started. Not deer, the witch said. Wolves. You're hunting wolves. They're in the area, killing livestock, family pets. Even attacked a small boy. County put a bounty on them. $1,000 a kill. And you get to keep the hide. Do you have to point that thing at me? Soldier Girl kept the gun steady. You're in camouflage makeup and a ghillie suit. Helps me blend in. Wolves don't hunt by sight. They hunt by scent. Deer urine, the witch said. It's pungent, but it draws them close. I don't smell anything. She's a real suspicious one. Must have worn off. Bottle is in my pack. The witch pointed to the ground. Soldier Girl squatted next to the witch's equipment bag. Hell of a rifle for wolves. I prefer to stay as far away from wolves as possible. You ever see a wolf pack hunt? It's the most vicious thing ever. Soldier Girl quickly went through the witch's equipment bag, finding the bottle of deer scent. It always pays to have a cover story. Hey, are you military? The witch asked. You move really fast. Where'd you get your training? She stood up, her gun unwavering. Here and there. The witch tried for a mix of indignant and obliging. She spread out her hands. Look, I saved your life. You and your friends. If you want to go to the cops, we can go right now. But I'm the type of person who knows how to mind her own business. So, if you don't want to go to the cops, that's okay too. Give her a choice. Follow the law or not. Soldier Girl avoided the question. How'd you get here? Walked. Parked in a forest preserve 2 miles to the west. Wolf bounties, huh? The witch nodded. The problem is that there is no bounty on wolves in Wisconsin. They're on the endangered species list. Classic misdirection. If you're doing something very bad, only admit to doing something semi-bad to throw people off. I lied, the witch admitted. I'm not working for the county. Local farmers hired me. What I'm doing is technically poaching. But these animals, they're killers. Winter is coming. They're getting hungrier. Just a matter of time before they go to a school and attack some child during recess. Which was a pretty hilarious image. The witch could imagine them dragging little Betty Sue off the monkey bars, tearing her to shreds, while the homeroom teacher screamed. Wolves are nocturnal hunters, Soldier Girl said. School is during the day. She's testing me. I don't know what you've heard, but wolves hunt day and night. Soldier Girl's gun stayed steady. Time to get irritated. Look, I just saved you. Why are you pointing that at me? You shot at us. I shot at what I hit. I saved you. You're welcome. If you're hunting wolves, why were you looking at the house? Oh shit. I made the wrong choice. I figured Jack would have friends who played by the book. Soldier Girl knows I saw her kill 4 men. This bitch is going to shoot me. The witch shifted her gaze, ever so slightly, to a spot over Soldier Girl's right shoulder, and widened her eyes, like she was silently encouraging someone who was sneaking up behind her. It was a risky ploy. Soldier Girl obviously had enough training to not fall for it. But she's just fired her 9mm over a dozen times, without ear protection. That's why she didn't hear that wild man sneaking up on her, ringing in her ears. So maybe she'd buy it. One more. Soldier Girl glanced to her right, and the witch struck, sidestepping the line of fire and throwing the knife edge of her hand at the woman's neck, going for the carotid artery. Known as an Okinawan slap, a direct hit would cause a sudden interruption of oxygen to the brain, and could knock a person down or even knock them out. But Soldier Girl deflected the blow, bunching up a shoulder, then dropped her own gun and kicked it away as the witch went for her wrist. She knew I'd go for the gun, so she must have another weapon. They both drew knives at the same time, Soldier Girl from a sheath on her hip, the witch from a sheath around her back. Soldier Girl had a straight-bladed kabar. The witch wielded a custom-designed karambit with a curved edge. Both were fighting knives, meant to kill. The witch found herself getting aroused. "You're fast," the witch said, laughing and then running a tongue over her green and black-colored lips. "You might even be faster than me." "Who are you?" "Have you ever been in so much pain you wished you were dead?" the witch asked. "That's who I am." "You're holding your karambit wrong." "Am I?" The witch glanced at her knife. Soldier Girl slashed, slicing through the witch's ghillie suit at collarbone level, but not through the Kevlar underneath it. And the witch pressed the hidden button in the modified karambit handle, which she was holding correctly, and a small cloud of pepper spray shot out. Soldier Girl immediately backed away. So did the witch, sprinting to the right, straddling her electric motorbike, camouflaged by ghillie, hitting the start button and holding on for her life as she went 0 to 60 in 4 seconds and disappeared silently into the woods. The Artist.
The artist bleeds. The artist hurts. The artist sits on the edge of the property, cold and upset. The artist wonders where the family is. The family is supposed to protect the artist, but the family never comes. The police come. They raid the barn. They raid the secret art room. They raid the house. They don't leave. More and more people keep coming. People with guns. People with cameras. The artist stays hidden. Cold. Upset. Bleeding. Hurting. Thirsty. Hungry. Head aching for the paint candy. The rain comes. The night comes. Then something worse comes. Something that smells the blood. The wolf pack surrounds the artist. The wolf pack attacks the artist. The artist is pinned. The artist is gnawed. The artist bleeds. The artist remembers long ago, telling the family stories. Wendigo stories. Imaginary stories. The wolf pack is not imaginary. The artist watches as the wolves fight amongst themselves. Fight over who will eat first. The artist tries to hold in his insides. The artist fails. The artist screams and screams and screams. The artist never gets to see which wolf eats first.
Jack. Destiny, Colorado. 2 weeks after everything. When my phone rang, it said, "Unknown caller." I immediately picked up, no hesitation. "Hey, buddy, what's up?" "Hi, Jack," Chandler said. "I need to talk to you." "That's fantastic. It's good you called. I'm doing great. Want to know how great? Medusa Zoa. I got the noggin checked out. No problems." "I know. I downloaded your medical file after your neurologist visit. That's not why I called. You thinking another girls' trip?" "I'd be up for it, but to Lake Flatwood again. You know they found over 70 statues? Can we invite Val this time? Maybe if we tag team her, we can convince her to—" "Jack," Chandler interrupted. "This isn't a social call. I'm in Pyongyang and North Korea." My turn to interrupt. "You're in North Korea? Are you okay?" "I'm fine. That's not why I'm calling. That sniper, the one who shot the crazy guy in Lake Flatwood, the one I had the confrontation with. She had camo makeup on, which made it harder for me to do a facial reconstruction for the database. Chandler, I told you not to worry about it. You ran into some weirdo in the woods. Will you listen to me? This woman scared me. She's almost as frightening as my sister Hammett. She's trained and deadly, and I knew she had to be in someone's digital file somewhere, but I wasn't getting hits. And I thought I got her bone structure wrong, but that wasn't it. Chandler, don't you think— shut up and listen to me. I wasn't getting anything because this woman has been dead for over a decade. My good mood seeped away as I felt my stomach sink to my shoes. Who is it? That's the thing. You said you killed her. I saw her death certificate. Chandler, who is it? I held my breath, fearing the worst, knowing that the worst couldn't be possible, hoping that it couldn't be. Jack, the woman with the sniper rifle, the woman I fought with. Chandler, for Christ's sakes, say her name. It's Alex Cork. The end. Jack Daniels and Friends will return in Pink Lady by JA Konrath. Dr. Mordecai Plincer. Medical literature abounds with incredible stories of human survival, even under the worst conditions, even after suffering the worst traumas. Plincer had inflicted trauma. He'd also endured trauma. Unimaginable pain, disfigurement, hypovolemic shock, myocardial infarction, death. But death was not the end of him. Science doesn't truly understand what it means to die. After all, what is death? Does death happen when the heart stops? When respiration stops? When brain activity ceases? When cells begin to die? Some cells die within minutes of being starved of oxygen. Some take hours. Some take days or longer. Gene transcription actually increases after heart and brain death. Digestion continues. The microbiome continues to grow, increasing neural communications. Death is a process of small steps, and small steps are easy to stop. They can even be reversed. Dr. Mordecai Plincer came back from death, perhaps due to residual effects from his previous scientific experiments, perhaps because fate dictated it wasn't his time. He mused about the many horror films he'd seen in his youth. Classic monsters such as Dracula, the Wolfman, the Mummy. They died at the end of every movie, but they always came back. Immolation, electrocution, even beheading. No death was permanent. Evil seemed to always find a way to come back to torment the world. Plincer lived, so he would help others to live. He would help evil live, which was why he brought 3 particularly wicked forms of evil back from the brink of complete death. Alex Cork, serial killer with an impressive body count, shot in the head by Lieutenant Jacqueline Jack Daniels. At the time, Jack thought Alex was dead. She thought she'd waited long enough to ensure that fact before calling the authorities. Jack Daniels was wrong. Anne Steinhofer, known professionally as the Cowboy, freelance torturer hired to do interrogations, buried under debris at the mansion of Harry McGlade. Yet another time, Jack Daniels screwed up. Lester Pax, one of Plincer's own experiments, a cannibal whose teeth were filed down to sharp points to better emulate a flesh-eating ghoul. The Witch, the paladin, the golem, and the mastermind behind the resurrections, the wizard. The monsters always had help from a mad scientist. Dr. Mordecai Plinser was as mad as a person could get. This has been Witch Brew, written by JA Konrath, narrated by Dylan Hornick. Copyright 2023 to 2093 by Joe Konrath Books Ltd. Production copyright by Joe Konrath.
Audible hopes you have enjoyed this program.